AI could wipe out half of all white collar jobs in the next 1 to 5 years. Or at least that's what Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, just proclaimed in an interview with Axios. That would be massive unemployment, economic hardship, and panic. But I tend to have a more optimistic view of the future with artificial intelligence. So I'm going to review this Axios interview with Dario, and then I'm going to show you what my vision, my optimistic vision of the future of humanity with artificial intelligence could look like. So here's the article. Behind the curtain, a white-collar bloodbath. Very scary, very clickbaity headline, of course, and I have seen this everywhere. Even my parents were sending me this article. So first, he does say AI could wipe out half of all entry-level white-collar jobs and spike unemployment to 10 to 20% in the next 1 to 5 years. If this is true, it really would be economic disaster. Amodei said AI companies and government need to stop sugarcoating what's coming. The possible mass elimination of jobs across technology, finance, law, consulting, and other white-collar professions, especially entry-level gigs. And okay, intuitively, maybe that makes sense. All of a sudden, companies don't need to hire entry-level positions anymore. They don't need to hire humans at all, maybe in the future. They just use AI agents, and the AI agents do all of the work. What's more likely in my mind is that we're going to have the same amount of humans doing much more work than we could ever imagine, being hyper productive beyond our wildest dreams. Most of them are unaware this is about to happen. It sounds crazy and people just don't believe it. Now, I am not saying that there isn't going to be this friction during this transition period. There certainly is, and I'm going to address that in a moment. Steve Bannon even is getting in the discussion. I don't think anyone is taking into consideration how administrative, managerial, and tech jobs for people under 30, entry-level jobs that are so important in your 20s, are going to be eviscerated. What a strong word. Now, I put a few slides together. I want to show you what I believe is going to happen. So this is what it looks like today. We have our human worker. Let's just say this person costs $100,000 a year to a company. This is just a nice round number. These numbers aren't from anywhere. I'm just making them nice and easy to calculate. This white collar worker produces 3 units of output and in total, $300,000 of output from those 3 units. The ROI is 200%. The company invests $100,000 in the human. The human is then able to produce $300,000 of output, thus a 200% ROI for the company. That is how it is today. And so let's look what happens tomorrow. We have that same human, $100,000, but all of a sudden that human is empowered with AI agents, and each of the agents is able to produce the same amount of output. So let's say that human is able to manage 3 agents in total. Each of the agents is producing 3 units of output, still worth $100,000 each. And the total amount of output is $900,000. Thus, the ROI invested into the human is 800%. Now, I'm assuming a nominal cost for these agents. Let's say $10,000 a year, $20,000 a year. But just to make the math simple and clean, I'm going to leave that out for now. And so maybe this is the future. We have humans managing armies of agents that are producing insane amount of output. In this future, the ROI goes way up, the ROI per human employee. Okay, but what if these agents continue to get better and the agents are capable of doing more and more? Well, each of these humans is still managing, let's just say 3 agents. So each of the agents is able to produce $900,000 in output. That is $2.7 million for a $100,000 employee. Multiply that by however many humans you have managing the agents. A lot of you might be thinking, okay, what if in the future agents can completely run autonomously and they don't need human oversight? I think that's probably pretty far in the future if it's going to happen at all. I truly believe in the future there are only 2 things that are going to matter in the software world: taste and ground truth data. And by taste, I'm talking about curating an experience that people enjoy. That is taste. And so that is still the realm of the human. And beyond that, the human still needs to have oversight into whatever the agents are producing. So whether you believe humans are going to be managing agents or humans are simply going to be reviewing the agent output, spot checking it, making sure it's good, either way, the human is still in the loop. And I suspect for the foreseeable future, humans will still be in the loop. All right, let's go even further in the future. Imagine these agents continue to get better, and a single human can manage a single agent, which then manages many agents, and each of those agents is producing a ton of output. And maybe we just have this insane leverage between human and total economic value output. But here's the real question. A company looks at their org chart and they're seeing, wow, I'm producing so much output with so few humans. I've achieved everything I could possibly want. I don't need to grow anymore. That doesn't sound like capitalism to me. In my mind, competition reigns supreme. And a company, even though their productivity is higher than they could have ever imagined, they're going to look at their competition and think, okay, well, maybe I'll just do more now. And that is also known as Jevons paradox. As the efficiency of a resource increases, the cost decreases. Society doesn't tend to use less of that cheaper resource. It's actually quite the opposite. It tends to use more. Let me explain why. So look at this graph. We have ROI on the y-axis and we have cost of intelligence on the x-axis. Now, when the cost of intelligence is towards the bottom, cheap, the ROI for whatever the task is very high. Great. Now, as the cost of intelligence increases, the ROI decreases for whatever the given task is, up to a certain point at which you are ROI negative and it's not worth it anymore. So all of the value capture today is behind this red line, all in here. Everything to the right of this red line is not worth it to the company. Now, what happens as that changes? What happens as the cost of intelligence decreases? All of a sudden, the math on which problems are worth solving for a company changes drastically. Look at this. As the cost of intelligence goes down, this line, the line that captures the total amount of value possible with the given ROI, increases. It is not only moving up, it is also moving out. So the not worth it line starts to be pushed all the way out here. The total amount of value, as you're seeing everything under that curve, increases dramatically. All right, now company A, company B, they're both happy. They're printing money. They're selling $10 widgets and it costs them a penny to make, whatever that widget is. They have 50% market share between company A and company B. Again, just really oversimplifying everything. And so they're super happy and content, and they just allow themselves to capture the exact same amount of market share forever. Again, that doesn't sound like capitalism to me. Now, all of a sudden, they start looking at each other. They're thinking, well, 99% margins is great, but if I did 98% margins, I would capture more market share and my total economic value produced would be higher. All right, fine. I'll take a little hit on margin and I'm gonna beat my competition. So they start lowering their prices. And of course, they go back and forth competing. And then all of a sudden, who's winning? The consumer, because we get these extremely cheap widgets. But remember, each of these companies has essentially unlimited resource of intelligence. So all of a sudden they say, okay, well, I'm only making $5 per widget now, which, good, I'm still printing money, but now I can actually go after all of these different markets that previously didn't have the right ROI math. They were not ROI positive, but now they are. Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm selling widget A for 5, widget B for 5, and widget C for 5. So the total economic value produced is actually going to be higher because I can go after so many more markets. I can solve so many more problems for the consumer. Now, let's take a look at this. As we're expanding out, we want to do more. Even though each unit of intelligence is now a fraction of the price that it used to be, we're using a lot more because we're going after different problems. We're solving problem A with widget A, problem B with widget B, and of course, problem C with widget C. But this requires more agents, and agents require human orchestrators or human fact checkers or human spot checkers, whatever you want to call it, tastemakers. I believe that there's going to be a human in the loop always, and maybe that's the main assumption of my entire argument here. Let's look at some concrete examples. Let's say you have this engineer and he is producing great code, but he's only one of himself. But all of a sudden he's using AI agents to help him code. And now he's 6 of himself essentially. Now the same cost to the company, but now he's producing a lot more. Now we look back here, that being able to produce a lot more pushes this curve up and out. And all of a sudden, the total number of problems that are worth solving to a company increases greatly. Now, one thing I like to talk about is education. I have 2 younger kids, they're in school, and a lot of teachers are nervous about AI, what's going to happen with their jobs with artificial intelligence. I tend to be very optimistic, as usual, about the future. So let's look at what it looks like today. We have a teacher. This teacher has a classroom. So all of these students down here are part of a single classroom. And you have some that are a little bit behind, some that are average, and some that are a little bit ahead. And they have to be grouped into those 3 buckets because it's only one teacher, and this one teacher only has time to customize their school plan for 3 groups of kids. And so this is great, but maybe it could be even better in the future. Now imagine that same teacher is now AI empowered, and they can create custom work plans for every single student, hyper personalized work plans that are specific to the learning needs, to the current state of their education per student. That is a phenomenal future to look forward to. All of a sudden, this teacher, same as the engineer, we don't need less of them. They are just able to do so much more than they have ever been able to do historically. Hyper custom learning plans for every single student. Now let's go back to the beginning slide quickly. So one of the arguments in the Axios interview by Dario is that the entry-level white-collar jobs are going to disappear. For example, data entry, basic document analysis, and other jobs that are given to entry-level white-collar workers. Then let's look at what it looks like tomorrow. Those same specific tasks are likely to be automated. Rather than that new college graduate getting into the workforce, instead of them having to learn simple data analysis, simple data entry, instead, they are going to be learning how to manage AI agents to do that work for them. And rather than them being 1x leverage, they can only do so much data analysis, they can only do so much data input, they can only type up so many letters and emails. Now they're learning how to manage AI, and they can do 10x of what they previously could have. So the task itself has changed, but that doesn't mean there's not a job there. That just means the job is different, and the output of that job is going to be much higher. And so this is the point at which I need to pause and say, one of the most important skill sets to learn as somebody who is in high school, even earlier than that, college, a recent grad, is learn these AI tools. They're going to augment you at the workplace. It's still important to learn the fundamentals of the work because you're still going to be checking the work. You're still going to be applying your taste to the work. So it's still very important to learn the fundamentals of coding, to learn the fundamentals of data analysis, data entry, typing, all of these things that a lot of people say are going to go away. It's important to learn them, but it's just as, if not more important, to learn the AI tools to do them at hyperscale. But one thing is for sure, jobs, the tasks that we do with those jobs are going to be changing drastically. There is no avoiding that. There is no sugarcoating it. But this has happened historically. Sam Altman gives the example of a lamplighter, literally somebody whose job it is to light a lamp. Then when electricity came, lamp lighting wasn't a job anymore. Let's talk about farming. In the early 1800s, 90% of all jobs were farming jobs. It was manual, it was small scale, and very labor intensive. Then we started having more mechanized farming with tractors and other machinery. A single farmer used to be able to feed 4 people. Today, a single farmer feeds 155 people. So the scale, the productivity per human input is much higher than it used to be. And yes, there are fewer specific farming jobs, but there have been other jobs created to build the machinery for farms, to maintain it, specialization to actually use it. And so in that example, yes, the jobs have changed drastically, but other jobs have been created. And I know you've heard this argument before. I'm a firm believer we're going to see that again. And staying on the topic of farming, what happened from those innovations? Fewer people producing vastly more food. The freed up labor drove the Industrial Revolution, as well as the digital revolution after that. And so there was a large economic transformation because of this innovation within farming. And so I'm going to say it again, something I've been saying forever. The best thing you can do right now to prepare yourself for this future with artificial intelligence is just to learn. Get out there, play around with the tools, have fun with them. It doesn't have to be only within the realm of work. Go play around with it, build a side project, or just spend 10 minutes a day just playing around or watching videos like mine, learning about these tools. Now, in this article, they point out a lot of companies that are cutting jobs or just simply not hiring. And yes, that is happening right now. I am absolutely aware of what is going on in the marketplace right now. Here's Walmart cutting 1,500 corporate jobs, CrowdStrike slash 500 jobs, 5% of its workforce. We know Microsoft had some layoffs, and a lot of the tech giants over the last few years have had major layoffs. But I do believe, as I showed in those graphics, once those companies stabilize, they're going to see each employee is hyper productive with assistance from artificial intelligence. And when other companies start hiring humans back, they're going to do the same. Ultimately, what's going to change is the productivity, the total output per human employee. And that's going to be scaled up in two ways. One, the total number of human employees a company has, and the total output multiplier produced by using artificial intelligence. And if you combine those things, the company is going to be hyper productive. And if they're losing out on one of those things, meaning they're not hiring any humans, another company is going to, or we're going to have a lot more smaller companies doing a lot more. I am very bullish that humans are still going to be in the loop in the future. But let's look at some AI leaders. What are they talking about? It is clear, and I've seen multiple CEOs do this. They are sending memos internally to their teams saying, hey, it's time. You have to reskill, upskill to learn AI tools. They are being measured on it. They are implementing training programs. So here's Aaron Levy, Box CEO. Here's what he said. Here's what I shared with Box internally last night about being an AI first company. We're focused on transforming how we work with AI to ultimately move faster, iterate more quickly, get out of busy work, and serve customers better. Let's look at some of what he posted. One of our Q1 OKRs was to ensure every org implements an AI strategy. And by the way, an OKR, just a way to measure the progress of a team. And we'll be doubling down on this in Q2. But here's the key phrase that really stuck out to me. We don't want to use AI just to do what we already do, just at a lower cost. We want to use AI to come up with new ideas, move projects along more quickly, and ultimately get to work on more strategic areas. That's what I'm talking about when I show the total universe of solvable problems that are ROI positive expands greatly when you mix in artificial intelligence. And so how does Box, a company that thinks about the cutting edge of technology all day, every day, what are they doing to prepare for this AI shift? Well, foster constant experimentation internally to find the best use cases for AI. Upskill every employee to be AI first over time with more education and awareness, and maintain governance and strong security practices. Of course, they're an enterprise company, so yes, that's just as important. Toby Lutke, who is the CEO of Shopify, sent something very similar to his internal team. I use it all the time, AI. But even I feel I'm only scratching the surface. It's the most rapid shift to how work is done that I've seen in my career, and I've been pretty clear about my enthusiasm for it. So how is Shopify planning to use AI? Using AI effectively is now a fundamental expectation of everyone at Shopify. This is the transition I'm talking about. Learn AI. AI must be part of your GSD prototype phase. We will add AI usage questions to our performance and peer review questionnaire. They're being graded on it. Learning is self-directed, but share what you learned. There's so much out there. It's changing so quickly. Go be a self-starter, learn something, and then share it with everybody else. And here is something that I'm hearing over and over again. Here is something that I implemented at my own company. Before asking for more headcount and resources, you know where this is going, teams must demonstrate why they cannot get what they want done using AI. Now, of course, you're probably thinking, well, that means they're going to hire less. No, that just means they're going to get the maximum amount of leverage per human employee before they hire another human employee. Once they maximize that leverage, they can go accomplish other things, and then hiring more people makes sense. And it applies to everybody, including the executive team. All right, here is Emad, AI leader, founder of Stability AI. Being overtaken by AI is kind of like being chased by a bear. You don't have to be faster than the bear, just the other folk in escaping with you. Except the bear doesn't get tired and gets faster and faster. Okay, so definitely a funny analogy, but here's the thing. This bear, I actually don't think it's artificial intelligence. I think it's the lack of knowledge about artificial intelligence. It is not learning how to use the AI tools. And you've probably heard this before. People are not going to be replaced by AI. People who know how to use AI are going to replace people who don't. Now, I do have some concerns. So let me share those. One, in this scenario, if the top companies by capitalization kind of come to this realization and the cost of intelligence drops to zero or approaches zero, then really it's whoever has the most capital at the time will be able to invest the most, and their escape velocity will be the fastest as compared to other companies. So what all of that boils down to is a concentration of wealth and power within a few hands. That is a real concern of mine and probably should be of yours. It is also a concern of Dario's. This will likely juice historic growth for the winners, the big AI companies, the creators of new businesses feeding off AI. Existing companies running faster and vastly more profitably, and the wealthy investors betting on this outcome. The result could be a great concentration of wealth, and it could become difficult for a substantial part of the population to really contribute. And that's really bad. And I've talked about that on this channel before. That is a real concern. And here's the important part of that. The balance of power of democracy is premised on the average person having leverage through creating economic value. Without being able to create economic value, we lose the leverage as an individual in this society. Another thing I'm definitely anxious about is our adversaries winning the AI race, because once the AI race is won, there's really no going back. There's nothing after that. So I really hope we don't slow down, we don't over-regulate what we're doing in the United States. Obviously, I'm talking about China and the CCP, and I want to double down our investment. I want to accelerate our innovation around artificial intelligence. Obviously, we need to spend a lot of time thinking about guardrails and safety, but I am very much an accelerationist. Dario also says public awareness is incredibly important, and I agree. I talk to so many people who are fearful about artificial intelligence, and what they should do with those emotions, valid emotions, totally understandable, is put that into learning. How do I use these tools? Let me play around with them. Let me have fun with them. Obviously, if you're watching this channel, you're already ahead of the game, but still, there's so much everybody can do, including myself. I want to learn how to use these tools. If I'm able to teach my mom how to use ChatGPT and Perplexity, I think everybody can learn it. He also says the government is just woefully uninformed about AI and what's coming. And yes, there is definitely a transition period coming. So that's it. Let me know what you think. Are you very nervous about AI? Are you very optimistic about AI? There's no right or wrong answer. I'm here just to help you learn about what's out there and what the potential is. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.